People are saying it's great. It's good now. So fine. That's 10 freaking minutes of my life I'll never get back. So anyways, what we were talking about, don't touch anything. No, I'm not touching anything. All right. So what we were talking about is that we're going to be heading to these locations, checking places out with nobody. It's just Jim and me. And then we're actually going to head to these locations solo and not even have the other to rely on. So, that's what I'm looking forward to. It's, I think it's going to be a blast, just testing if we're manifesting things ourselves, or if people are letting the fear get the best of them. I think from there. So honestly, let's start taking some questions here, because I see a bunch of people in there. And now that we got rid of that damn echo, which I'll have to remove from this thing.
I'm afraid to talk.
No, well, I'm afraid to have you talk in general.
Thanks.
So, all right. Anyways, Jason, you are better at finding ghosts. Yeah, well, hey, trust me. I mean, I don't know. It's not me. So I'm not even going to touch any buttons here. All right.
So Cameron wants to know, Jason with a super chat, would love to hear your thoughts on an NDE or near-death experience. I haven't had one. I don't know if I don't think you have personally. We've both spoken to people that have had them.
Yeah, it's and for asking, yes, we will be filming ourselves when we go into these locations, and that will be uploaded to youtube.com/Jason Hawes. So, no, I haven't had a near-death experience. I know, I do know some people who have, and many people have had different experiences when it comes down to that. Yeah, but no, I haven't been there yet. So
I have spoken to a lot of people doing interviews, and Jay and I interviewed folks on Beyond Reality Radio who've had near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences. And the common thread that I find fascinating is that almost all of them describe their experience, what they see during that time, the same. It's very, very similar. And then the other thing that I find fascinating is that when they come back and they re-enter their body and they start their life again, many of them have sensitivities that they didn't recognize or didn't have prior. It seems like the near-death experience itself and whatever they encounter on that other side opens up a door or a window for them, and it gives them sensitivities and allows them to, whether it's psychic abilities or mediumship abilities, or even in some cases predicting the future, those types of things seem to be very, very common after a near-death experience. I find it fascinating.
I see Andrea Dunhill say, "Hey, Jason, this is Andrea from Canada. May I please email you? A former GH member made some comments about you. You know what? Feel free to send it." The one thing I find funny is some people, when they don't work out, then start making comments or whatever. And, you give these people more and more chances. And that's the thing. So people are going to say crap. To each their own. I mean, anybody who knows me can draw their own conclusions. I'm never going to sit there and fight about that or argue about that. People want to talk shit, let them talk shit. But, you always got to question where it's coming from. Is it because you're unhappy that you're not getting attention anymore and this is the only way for you to get attention? Or, I guess you can draw your own conclusions with that. But
yeah, well, the whole disgruntled employee thing.
So
yeah, the whole disgruntled employee thing, it's a real phenomenon. I've owned a lot of businesses. I've employed a lot of people. The ones that leave on good terms generally are happy. The ones that leave on bad terms, for whatever those reasons, they bitch constantly, and there's really not much you can do about it. As Jason said, you got to take the source into account when you're hearing these things. I know it doesn't bother him. He knows the deal. It doesn't bother me when people do that, because I know the deal too. You just have to let it slide off your back.
Well, and Meg P actually says a good thing. She says, hurt people. And, and again, you got to question where somebody's anger is coming from, or if it's directed towards me in general, or is it just because I'm, the face of the show? It's, you get some people who sit there and get into disputes with production or whatever, or don't feel like they're getting enough camera time, or they want more than they could be expected. And all of a sudden, because they're not there, attacking the production isn't going to affect anybody. So who do they go after? They go after me because they think that I'm behind everything. And it's like, that's stupid crap. I don't even waste my time.
It's
I mean,
childish.
you're not there, whatever, move on.
Yeah,
But I
it's
mean, I think you
childish.
see, yeah, I brought back past TAPS members and GH members and everything else, and I seem to have a pretty good relationship with the majority of them. So
Let's celebrate, as the YouTube chat tells us to, Maxine Miller, who has just done her first super chat, and we're honored that you did that in our chat room, Maxine. But congratulations and thank you for that. That's a real milestone.
thank
It's
you
a
so
real
much.
milestone.
Man.
What else do we have? Entity 7 Paranormal with the super chat. I've investigated many locations by myself. So boring. I think imagination plays a big role in investigating solo. Well, that's the risk, isn't it?
And that's the thing, because you need to question some of these people. All right, so I mean, you see some of these YouTubers out there, and it's like every damn thing has to have a demon in it because they think that's what sells. But heading into a location yourself, being alone, you got to question if the activity is actually activity, or if you're manifesting it yourself because you're already on edge, you're stressed, and you're concerned about what could happen, and you don't have anybody to turn to. So, I mean, I think heading to a location alone could be boring, but it could be really exciting. I mean, it could help out with a lot of different things as well, and help you figure out truly if something's paranormal, if it's not paranormal. Are people manifesting the activity themselves? Um, and yeah, I think the possibilities are endless with that. All right.
Sorry, I got to switch devices when I want to chat, so I'm just jumping back and forth here. Did you see another question? You want me to find one here?
I'll go right ahead.
Okay, so does everyone in your immediate families believe, or are they skeptics? Or are there any skeptics left? That's a question from Hannah Lombardo.
And I think
Um,
a great question. I think
yeah,
everybody in my family tends to try to ride that line between believer and skeptic. So we should make up this whole new word. It should be like beleptic, believer and skeptic. But because my kids and me, I mean, we're always trying to find the real answers. We're looking for the real truth, whether it's paranormal or not. I mean, those who find paranormal everywhere they go, I think you can draw your own conclusion. They seem to be only believers, not looking for any explanation. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I think my family is made up of epileptics, believers and skeptics.
well, I think, and I don't think they're mutually exclusive. And I think that's a good point, Jay. I think you can be a skeptic and still believe there's something going on. One of the, and I think if you're not a skeptic and you're going into a paranormal investigation, you're just opening yourself up to being fooled. You need to be a skeptic when you go into an investigation, even if you are a believer,
Well, you need
because if you just believe everything, you're not going to prove anything. You're just going to succumb to the problem that a lot of people have had.
Yeah, and you need to. I mean, you need to take everything somebody says, the person from that location. You need to take it with a grain of salt, because their perception of something might be very different than what really happened. And I mean, but you got to look for the little triggers. Somebody talking about, and you got to do your research, because I mean, somebody talking about a ghost walking down the stairs and going through the wall. If you go and then do your research after all this, and you're able to figure out that the original floor plan, there was a door there, but now it's been covered up and the door's been moved. Now you're seeing that a residual haunting is coming down and it's following its original path where there used to be a door there. So it can kind of help you figure out, it can really help you try to figure out what kind of investigation you're on.
Jay, I last time we did this, first of all, let me just say this, folks. These chat rooms get very, very busy when we're doing this, and we try to see all the questions. If your question has scrolled through the chat room and it didn't get addressed, just throw it in again. Throw it in multiple times. That's fine. And understand that we won't be able to get to everybody's questions. The super chats help because it highlights it for us. So, that's one way to be seen for sure. But otherwise, just repeat them, and we'll try to get to as many of the questions as we can.
Kelly, have you ever investigated a place you have lived? Honestly, I used to own the Spalding Inn, which we'd always investigate, and we lived there during certain times of the year. So, yeah, I mean, our house, the house I'm in right now, there tends to be some crazy activity that's going on here. So, but I mean, this is a really old place. I mean, built in the early 1900s. So,
Maxine Miller comments about the Hatman. Can we hear more about the Top Hat Man? I saw him as a kid. Now, the reason I bring that up, and I was really anxious to bring it up, is because in the last chat talk we did, Jay, the last time we did this, someone else brought up Hatman and Top Hat Man.
Yeah.
And I know it's a real passion for you. You've been studying it for a very, very long time. And I've actually seen it popping up in other chat rooms too. So there's something going on as it relates to Top Hat Man, and I'm not sure what it is.
Well, so, and you've seen the map I have. So I had this map even long before the show that actually people would contact me with stories about the Hat Man, and I would be marking it all over, and it was a world map. And there's different claims of the Hat Man. So a lot of people are, scared of this man, but there's also been reports of this man helping people. Of course, being in the shadows of a child's room and popping his head out in the dark is terrifying. But there's been reports where he's done this in return to help people. In other words, like I talked about one case a couple weeks ago where the kid's father came home. He was excessively drunk, and I guess he was a very abusive individual. And the Hat Man leaned out and told the child to be quiet during a certain time, while the father was standing outside the door listening to see if the boy was awake, so he could come in and cause him harm. So again, the Hat Man isn't always a negative thing. I mean, I think a lot of people see or hear of him and automatically think that.
First of all, let me say hi to Andrea, who you referenced. Andrea with the email and the GH.
She's with us all the way back in Beyond Reality.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to say hi to Andrea. Love Andrea. She's always been a great friend of the programs, regardless of what program we're talking about. Let's see. I can't quite read this name. Is it RM Sundown? Yeah, I think it's RM Sundown. Do you ever smell things that aren't there during your investigations, like cigar smoke or roses?
Yeah. Sometimes you will, and sometimes you'll smell the individual walking in front of you who decided to, been there.
Yeah.
Anyways, but so we have had cases like that where you get a whiff of like a perfume or things. The thing that's tough about cigar smoke and cigarette smoke is that if it's high humidity, say you're in a house that's all wood, most of them are, but a lot of times that smoke gets absorbed into the wood throughout all those years. So on a humid day, sometimes you can get the smell of cigar smoke as if somebody was there smoking a cigar, and has nothing to do paranormal wise. Now, of course, there are the situations where people catch the cigar smoke smell, or sometimes actually see the smoke as well. But a lot of times, if high humidity or for whatever reason, the wood can just let the sense that it's held on for so long out.
Yeah, and furniture will do that too. So you got to be careful.
Right.
Some, especially fabric-based furniture will absorb odors and release them at certain times. But having said that, I know that with a lot of the teams that I've worked with, and personally, phantom smells, odors are a pretty not just common, but actually an important indicator. If you've been able to rule out the other sources and you are smelling your mother's perfume or your father's pipe tobacco or this, that, and you're not in your mother's home or your father's den, there's something to that. And you really got to take notice. And if you can substantiate that with some kind of other evidence, it's a great personal experience to have.
Absolutely. So.
Maxine says with her super chat, by the way, Maxine is the one that was talking about Hatman, says that she saw the Hatman clearly beside her bed. That was her first experience. Maxine, was that recently? Is that what you're saying? Or was it as a child? I'm curious to know more about that.
That makes you wonder, did she get a sense of fear? Did she get a calming sensation? So.
Right. Let's see, scrolling through here. This is a question from the last live. What are your thoughts on apps being used in investigations? Do you want to go first, Jay? Because I'm loaded up for this.
I mean, like Ghost Radar is phenomenal. No, come on, give me a minute. I think the iPhone or certain phones can be used for certain things like vibration sensors or trying to pick up audio, but you're not going out and using this app that's going to detect ghosts. I mean, they do have accelerometers and things like that in them. So they're able to pick, you can set or create apps that would pick up a magnetic field. But again, vibration sensors, I think it works good. Using it to record audio. A lot of times I'd prefer an external microphone on it, but I think most of the apps out there are they're comical.
Yeah, I have to say they're entertainment at best. The idea that some programmer sitting in his mom's basement somewhere is able to write code that allows us to talk with the dead is a little far fetched for me to believe. I'm just not there. When I see these apps that some investigators will use, they go into a room and they sit there and just stare at the screen, and these words come out, and they're just convinced 100% that this is somebody from the other side talking to them through the phone. I'm sorry. I don't buy that at all. I have had experiences where an app has validated something else that has happened. I'll take a little more stock in that, but I'm with Jay. These phones have a lot of very sensitive equipment in them. They can detect things, whether it's vibrations, audio, video. There's a whole bunch of things that these phones can be used for, but they pick up physical phenomenon, not some kind of mystical communication from the other side. I just don't buy that part.
Well, like, you know, and there's so much technology coming out right now. Last night, I went out with a good friend of mine, Lieutenant John Pascal from the Coventry Fire Department, and we went because there's been all these reports on Teslas and all this crazy activity people get using these Teslas. So we went out, we got a Tesla, we went out and we did all this testing yesterday, and we're going to be posting that video in the upcoming week or two. But just to show you our findings when it came down to the Tesla. I mean, the Tesla has 8 cameras around the vehicle, has one camera inside, it has 12 ultrasonic sensors. I mean, if any car could pick up a ghost, I mean, there you go, the Tesla. All right, Jim, I know we got some super chats.
Yep. Brett, with the super chat. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Jason and JV, any thoughts on pet or animal hauntings? Have you ever had an experience with this type of phenomenon?
I have. First off, I've been called in on cases of animal hauntings. So for right down to, we were called in to investigate where people would see like these illuminated deers at night on the highway. And it was this one part of the highway where truckers would go whipping down and they'd hit deer full throttle. It was a brutal scene. But I've also had experiences like that myself after losing Jake, who was, my 130-pound German Shepherd. He's my best friend. And he'd climb up on the bed and he'd lay with me all the time. And I had that experience just a couple nights after he passed. And I mean, a 130-pound dog, when he climbs up on the bed, and it's not like I was asleep or anything like that. But so I have had those experiences. They're amazing. I mean, it's especially because a dog or any animal it's a part of the family. It really is. So.
Yeah, I've got a couple things that I want to point out. First of all, I haven't had that experience. I've had 3, 4 dogs since I was a kid that have passed. Love those dogs, obviously a part of the family, as you mentioned. But I don't think I've ever had an experience where I thought, oh, they've come back to visit. I kind of think they do, but they haven't made their presence known. But the other thing I want to say about animals when it comes to the paranormal, they can be a really great tool, and you used them in Ghost Hunters, Jay. You used, what was it, Maddie? Was that
Maddie? Yeah. She was a wild dog that we saved from a high kill shelter, and the reason we did that was because she had never been contaminated by things in a home, whether it be electromagnetic fields or any of those things that you get contaminated with every day. So. And she, we had her temperament tested to be around the kids and everything else. And I mean, she was phenomenal. We lost her last year, but she was a phenomenal dog.
Yeah, and I just want to say this: a lot of folks who have dogs and cats in their home will write to me, or I'm sure you get them too, Jay, and they say, "Oh, my dog stares into the corner every night. There's got to be something paranormal going on there." Maybe there is, but you got to remember something: homes have mice. Homes have squirrels. Yeah. Homes have bees in the walls.
Chipmunks in the walls. Steve and I did a case where people were having activity and we told them animals are in the wall. They're like, no, I'll open it up. The dumbest move I ever did, because then we had 3 pissed off chipmunks running through this person's house and, trying to, try catching a chipmunk. They're not easy, and they're not pleasant animals. I mean, they're beautiful. No. You want to pet them. They don't want you to pet them. And
they're kind of ferocious. Ferocious.
And Sandy Andrews says, everyone, don't forget to give the thumbs up. So do that for us. So it gets the video out there. So.
Yeah. So just be very, very cautious. If you're basing your paranormal conclusions on your pet looking at a wall or something like that, you're going to have to do a little more research than that to determine whether or not that's paranormal. They are far more sensitive than we are, far more. There's no
Oh,
doubt.
absolutely.
But that's why they can hear the mice in the wall that you can't. I mean, that's part of it. So you got to be really, really
So
cautious.
Seasonal Homes Splendor said, Robert the Doll, is it a haunted doll or made up? Let me just tell you, I have very little faith in haunted dolls. All right. And I have no concern that I'm in danger from a haunted doll. It's a doll. I throw that sucker to a dog, let him have a field day with it. You know, it's so you can draw your own conclusion. I don't like dolls because I just don't like the idea of eyes always being on me. But I don't know. To everybody, to each their
Yeah,
own.
but Jay, this is not really any different than how you feel, and I share the feeling, which is why I know about like Ouija boards. You know, people say, "Oh, Ouija boards are inherently evil." It's
No.
really what you bring to the object more so than it is what the object brings to you.
That's it. Well, it's the fact that you're asking something to channel through you and to move something on the board. I mean, you're not asking something to come through the board. You're
Right.
actually asking for it to use you. I don't sit there and think Parker Brothers is stamping a ghost into every board, but I just don't recommend to anybody. I would never want to invite anything into my body. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Now, whatever happened to the Ghost Hunters app? We created this app years back. It was picked up EMF, again, vibration and audio. And this from Haya. And it was great, but just trying to keep things on the actual app store is just a pain in the butt. And then you got to constantly change it. And, it's got to be this way for iPhone and this way for a different version of iPhone. And then that way for Android. And it just was a pain.
It's a lot of work. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a lot of work. And the minute that you miss one of those things, Apple takes you down, and then you got to start over again. Basically, it's really quite difficult. Judy Wilson wants to know: do you think shadow people are evil?
I do not. And that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people will play it off as something terrifying because they want views or whatever. I think shadow figures a lot of times are just possible spirits that can't fully manifest, and that's the only way we're seeing them. It's just, of course, I'm not talking about the 9-foot ones that people claim to be seeing in the corners and stuff. That shit would be scary. But yeah, the normal shadow type person, I don't believe there's any negativity from it. I think it's just a spirit that can't fully manifest itself for whatever reason.
Okay, so Dusty Danesi, I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you for the super chat, Dusty. Dusty says, wife and I are working through new seasons on HBO. They're great. 2 questions. Why does Steve always wear long sleeves? And would you come back to Philly?
I'd come back to Philly anytime. And as for Steve always wearing long sleeves, I mean, a lot of times he doesn't, but I guess it just depends on the time of the year. Steve's become a very thin man, so he's always got to wear a lot of clothes now to keep his little brittle body warm. And
Brittle.
I can say that about him. I mean, I love him, but yes, he's gone from thicker Steve to a very thin man who, if he turns sideways, he disappears. He's like a piece of paper. So we could fax him to the hospital if he gets hurt. I guess that's a positive thing.
There you go. Dusty, I was just in Philadelphia this last weekend, actually. Actually, I got back yesterday. So I went down and saw a show, and that was a lot of fun. Got to walk around a little bit and see some of the historic sites, which I absolutely love. I've done it a few times, and I always love seeing Independence Hall and some of the other instrumental spots in Philly that were part of the creation of this nation. So it's a great city. Okay, Brett, Jason, and JV, thank you again, Brett, for another super chat. I'd like to hear your thoughts on cryptids. Any personal experiences or thoughts on things like Bigfoot or other cryptids?
Oh, thank you, Brett. I've always been interested in cryptids, and my good friend Ronnie LeBlanc, who also was doing the Bigfoot show, we've talked about going out and investigating some of this stuff at some point. It's like I've always loved the idea of, oh, wow, it'd be great if Bigfoot was actually out there. Do I think that's something I just think this day and age, we've got planes and helicopters which have thermal imaging cameras and things like that. It shouldn't be too hard to find. What do you think, Jim?
I
Jersey
think you're
Bigfoot?
absolutely right. And that's the biggest problem I have with some of this. And again, doing the interviews that I've done in the past, I've interviewed a lot of people who are Bigfoot. I'll call them hunters. I don't like that word, but we'll say they're Bigfoot hunters. And, they talk about the evidence they have but there's no really good pictures of any of it. And as you said, Jay, with drones and thermal cameras and the technology that we've got and satellites, even that you can basically pinpoint a mole on somebody's side of their face
Right.
with a satellite camera. You'd think that we'd have something more concrete. Now, having said that, it could very well be that we're thinking about it all wrong. And folks that are talking about Bigfoot being interdimensional or extraterrestrial or having some uh, alternate explanation other than being flesh and blood, that starts to make a little more sense in as far as explaining why we can't get a good picture. So I'm the same way. I'm having a tough time with the whole thing. But I will say this: there have been reports of other types of cryptids, Brett, things like Dogman and even the Jersey Devil and some of these other things that are starting to become more and more reported. Those are very interesting in themselves too. I don't think I'll ever tire of the cryptid conversation because I think that's what I started with. It was the Patterson Gimlin film of 1968 when it was shown on the TV show In Search Of that got me all fired up about all of this anyway. So I'll always have a fondness for that exploration, but you know, it's
Sandy,
looking for
Sandy,
a good picture.
Sandy Andrews says the whole Bigfoot hunt in the western part of Rhode Island was ridiculous. Yes, let me tell you, they were actually in the woods behind my house. And we had to sit there and I'm like, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. I mean, they're banging things into trees. And I was just like, come on, give me a friggin' break.
And also the question and I don't know the answer to this, and maybe someone in our chat room does. But again, having talked to people, having read some books, and having seen some interviews on other programs, there are people that have collected hair. They say that can't be identified as any known animal. These other DNA sampling, you know how they did it with Nessie. They took a sample of the lake water because apparently in the lake water it holds the DNA of every creature that's ever used the lake as a place to go to the bathroom. So and they can't find anything. And what's happened with this hair and these other things that some of these Bigfoot hunters have recovered? They say it's not human, but has anybody given us the DNA results to tell us where does it fall in the genome sequence? Is it close to human? Is it completely not? I've just never heard any of the results of any of that stuff, and I'd like to.
We also got let's see, Matty Ice, and thanks for this super chat. You were asking about the DR60. Honestly, I think the DR60 is a problematic recorder. You can look into it. You can do some research. My good friend Kenny Biddle from the Skeptical Inquirer actually did a whole article on it. And so, I mean, it tends to pick up sounds that aren't there. And so you read the article. I see people selling these recorders for $1,000, $2,000. It's insane. It's a recorder that was recalled because it had issues. So just check that.
I don't know why, but you brought up Matty Ice's super chat. I didn't see that. I had to scroll back and I saw it here. And I just saw another one here that I missed before too. Ryan Freebody from the UK with a super chat of £2, Jay, and that UK currency. Cannock Chase in UK, would you investigate there? Do you know what that is? I don't know what it is.
I'm not sure what it is, but I would investigate anywhere. I mean, you know that. I love investigating. So, and I love the challenge of going into these places, especially the places that people say they would never go because they're too terrified. Or it drives me crazy when I see those things like on Facebook and stuff where people are like, nobody could spend a night here. Let's make the bet on that one. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Let's see. Jason, this is from Tina Snodgrass. I know you guys have a lot, but I'm questioning physics. No, that's what I think it's supposed to be psychics, mediums, and sensitives. Do you believe them or not?
I do believe in, I hate the word psychic because I feel like a 1-900 number should be attached to it. I do believe in sensitives. I believe that and think of it like this way: if you went to 1,000 so-called haunted properties, and out of those, 100 of those were actually haunted, your body tends to remember how you felt at those 100. So you go to the next location, you can kind of you get that same feeling of the actual that you got at the haunted ones. So that makes you sensitive. That makes you more sensitive than somebody who's never been able to do that. Now that ability can, I would assume, could be strengthened. Um, I think that there's a lot of people out there, let's be honest, that claim that they're psychic, and it's more of a financial thing for them. But there are some people out there who really do seem to pick up on things, and I think that's important. Yeah, so and it's tough. I mean, is a psychic actually? So now it comes down to a situation where there's types of hauntings that a lot of people don't understand, where it's almost as if time's overlapping. Like they're living a normal day in their life still in their time, and we're living a normal day in our life, and time is always present. So, and for some reason it's overlapping. So is a psychic somebody who's picking up communication from the dead on some of those cases, or is it somebody who, for whatever reason, has the ability to connect to the different timelines? So, I mean, that opens up a whole other can of worms. Judy says, have you ever been to Skinwalker Ranch? And if not, would you go? Yeah, I'd go. I have no problem with that. I'll check out anything.
What question were you just answering before that? What was it? Because I wanted to make a comment, and then I had a sip of water and I forgot.
About the psychic?
Yeah, psychics. Okay, that's what thank you.
You brought up the question. I mean,
I know.
Is that really water you're drinking, Jim?
It is, and it's really bad. I just want to say that when Paranormal Reality TV goes out and investigates, we generally bring a psychic with us, and a lot of times what we'll do with the psychic is we'll let the psychic go through the building. We don't give them any information, and we don't even respond to the information they give us until after the fact. After the fact, we'll compare it to what we found and see if there's any credibility there. Now, we've worked with some bad ones, and if you've watched the early days of Paranormal Reality TV, you know that we had some bad ones. We also worked with some really, really good ones. And as Jay said, it's kind of hit or miss, but I will caution you, if you are looking for a psychic, make sure you check references and check some of their client list or their people that have used them, because there are a lot of charlatans in that business, and they'll just I've heard some horror stories about people being robbed blind.
I want to answer this question from Robert Kasick. He says, hey, hello, you two from Buffalo. When you go to an investigation, who pays you to appear, gas and hotel and so on? Nobody. We don't charge to investigate. We never have.
You can do that? You can do that, Jay?
There's some people out there who do. We don't charge.
Yeah, I know.
TAPS and the TAPS family groups, which you can check out at tapsfamily.com, have always been free of fee, because, the rich, the poor, everybody in between has paranormal issues. And I'm not going to charge, because then I could only help those who could afford my services. And secondly, is it ethically right to charge for something that scientifically you can't even prove exists in the first place? So we don't charge. It's always cost us money to go and investigate, and it still does. So I just wanted to make sure that was out there.
Yeah, no, that's important. And I've had people contact me and say, hey, I've got this thing going on in my house, and the local paranormal team says they'll come in for $500. And I say, well, right there, that tells you don't want to work with those folks. Yeah. If they're charging you like that to come in and do that, then there's something wrong with that scenario.
Or another situation,
find somebody else.
People come into the house and they do an investigation and they say, oh, well, it's circled around this piece, so I'm going to remove this piece from the house. But then they go and put it in a museum somewhere and then charge people admission. Right. Or the people who go to the house and say, here's the problem, you've got this going on, but if I get this special device for you, or these special candles to burn, it'll make these things go on. And so it's going to be like $500 in candles. I mean, there's so many different ways that people are trying to screw people out of money. Bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the worst ways is, as you just pointed out, they'll come in, they'll say, oh, you've got demonic haunting here. The only way we can do this, if we cleanse this, it's going to cost this to get him out of there, but your life's in danger otherwise. I mean, there's no room in the business, in the industry for that, but there's a lot of it. So you got to be careful. Seasonal Home Splendor, 2 questions. I have always wanted to start a paranormal team. What advice would you give me? And would you come back to Iowa?
I'd come back to Iowa, definitely. As for starting a paranormal team, honestly, find people that you gel with, that you connect with, and I think just. But remember, you're gonna have your ups and your downs. You're gonna butt heads. You're gonna see people come and go out of the group, and you just got to accept that is what it is. But yeah, I mean, find people who have a similar belief structure as you, and that you're gonna be able to work with, and that you can respect, and that respect you back, and go from there.
Yeah, just a reminder, chat's moving very, very quickly. I'm trying to navigate it slowly, so I'm way behind. If you've asked a question, we haven't addressed it within a couple minutes, throw it in again. Hopefully that'll help bring it to our attention. Of course, super chats make it a lot easier for us to see them. And I also see a bunch of people jumping into the Para Friends membership for the channel too. And thank you to all those folks for
Right.
doing that.
Brenda Blum.
I'm sorry?
Brenda Blum, she is super chat asked, do you ever take fans with you on any ghost hunts? Yes, we go and we'll investigate certain locations. You'll see us post events out there and stuff. And a lot of times it's like we'll do stuff for the USS Salem or other places where we can raise money for those locations. So so we'll do ghost hunts with the fans and everything else. It's because it's not about charging people money to go and hang out. It's just not, but it's about trying to help out those locations to the best of our ability.
Okay, so Nancy Tovar says, JV, ask if there's any updates on the witching tree. I don't know what that means. Do you?
That was for Brenda and stuff. We did a case.
Okay.
Actually, it was during Ghost Nation. We did a case where there was all this activity. It seemed to be around the tree. We ended up taking a backhoe and removing the tree and stuff. Brenda and Steve have actually sold the house and moved. So because they're doing a radio station in a different area. So yeah, that's the only update I can give on that one. I don't know who lives there now. We'll see if they call me.
All right, let's see. Science is catching up. I don't know. I'm not sure what. Sometimes we see the comments refer to a comment in the past, and I'm not really sure what they are. In the late 1960s, the forest gained notoriety when the bodies. Oh, this is about something. Oh, okay. So the Cannock Chase murders. Okay. So Ryan Freebody, this is our friend from the UK, said in the late 1960s, the forest gained notoriety when the bodies of 3 little girls were found. The Cannock Chase murders, also known as the A34 murders, and the Babes in the Ditch murders. So obviously a true crime story here related to a possible paranormal location as well. I had not heard about that, Jay, but the true crime stuff always fascinates me too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would check it out in a heartbeat. So
love to. Hey, I'd love to go. We should do that. You and I should hop on a plane, go spend a month in the UK.
Yeah, let me explain that one to the family. That'll go great.
Oh, darn it. Okay. Dusty with the super chat. Thank you, Dusty. What's your take on the Estes method? I see a lot of groups using this method more often.
I have mixed feelings on it, and I really don't know enough about it to comment that much on it. But I mean, it's always good to see somebody trying different methods that make sense. To see if it helps push the field a little forward.
Yeah, we've used the Estes method on Paranormal Reality TV a whole bunch. In fact, on almost every investigations, we try a variation of it. We've tried multiple isolated subjects. We've tried it a bunch of different ways. I personally believe I've never been a huge fan of, I'm not sure fan is the right word. I've never been a huge proponent of the spirit boxes in general. But I think if you're going to use the spirit box and you're going to use it with some objectivity, you have to do it in an Estes method format where the person listening to it doesn't know what the questions are. Because once you know what the questions are, suddenly you're hearing all sorts of answers because you're biased in what's coming through that spirit box. When you're isolated, you don't have that same benefit. And then if you've got a match, you've got really something to talk about.
Yeah, I worry about stuff I see sometimes being televised because that stuff can be edited. People can know stuff that they claim they don't. And so, I mean, it's tough. You got to be careful with that.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Zandra Allen, welcome to Parafriends. Thanks for doing that. Let's see, ShoeTube, maybe way out there, but do you think the paranormal or Bigfoot could be interdimensional?
I mean, the paranormal, possibly. I don't I don't know about Bigfoot being interdimensional. And I've heard claims of, well, nobody's finding him because he's walking through portals. I mean,
Right.
if he's walking through portals, then why the hell is he living in the woods? I mean, I would think he'd know a little more about things. And another thing people have claimed is that they're alien things that have been brought down. And you and I have actually talked with people who claim that, Jim. Um, I don't think so. I don't. I don't know.
Yeah, that this looks like you kind of keep bending your answer to kind of match what the reality is, and the reality, again, going back to this Bigfoot conversation, is that we haven't been able to catch any real evidence. And you'd think with modern cameras, modern thermal imaging, radar, all these various tools that are high tech, we'd have something concrete if Bigfoot was running around in the woods. I don't care how big the woods are; we have the ability to scan whole nations with equipment right now, and we're not catching anything. So people change the definition of Bigfoot to explain why we don't have it. Maybe there's truth to it or not, but I'm with Jay. The odds are it's, if Bigfoot was walking through dimensional portals, then like you said, they'd probably be something to be feared, because they'd have the technology to do something very, very sinister to us if they wanted to.
And everybody, just while you're watching, if you get a chance, make sure you give a thumbs up on the video. That way it gets out there a little more.
Now, the other thing, when you talk about ghostly activity, spirit activity, the idea that maybe there's something interdimensional there, that's curious too. Maybe dimensions are crossing, this when we call something a ghost, maybe it's really just somehow the veil between the two dimensions has become thin, and we're seeing into a dimension that we're not supposed to see into, versus, and then maybe they're seeing into our dimension and they're not generally supposed to. I find that a little more credible of a theory than I do the Bigfoot interdimensional theory.
There you go.
Okay. Dixie with the super chat. Thank you, Dixie Robertson. Where'd it go? Didn't TAPS have a paranormal academy, and is it still ongoing?
Well, okay, so we had a show, Ghost Hunters Academy, but we also had a paranormal academy where Chris Perkins, Murray Cuff, and TAPS family members would actually have classes and explain the paranormal to people and different ways of investigating. So that's not going on right now. I mean, a lot of things came to a halt with COVID that really haven't come back. So
Lisa wants to know, Jason, you've been to Altoona, Pennsylvania in the past. Would you ever come back, since it was a letdown?
It wasn't a letdown. Actually, Altoona, Pennsylvania was the first episode that we ever filmed for Ghost Hunters. And I mean, we caught some incredible activity. Actually, we caught what sounded like a child saying they can see us, and a bunch of other stuff. So, I mean, Altoona was a great location. We had also hit the Mishler Theater as well. But, I mean, Altoona was great, and I'd go back there in a heartbeat.
Opacus Music, I see your question. I know one thing that Jason doesn't want to do. I also don't, is comment on other people in the industry. It's really not. It's not something. I mean,
No,
Jason, I
I
don't
mean,
know
yeah.
if you see the question or not, but
I mean, to each their own. People are going to say things, and it's
right.
like, like I said, it's Andrea. I see your thing out there as well, and as you can see, I don't really concern myself. People could say whatever they want about me or about whatever, but you draw your own conclusions from that. I mean, I think people, I mean, watch my videos, get to know me, and you can make your own conclusion. It's most people who do seem to think I'm just I'm on a straight shooter. So if they don't, oh well, to each their own.
So Mary Salyers is asking, what is Parafriends? On the YouTube channel, there's a way to become a member, and it's been set up as Parafriends, if I'm looking at it correctly, Jay.
Yeah. Parafriends,
So
family. I mean, this is all new stuff to me. So
right.
it's like, yeah.
And one of the things, and Jason mentioned a bunch of different videos that he's doing, but he and I are also heading out on the road. We're going to go to some really great locations, do some investigating of our own, just the two of us, no camera crew, no support team, just the two of us in some pretty phenomenal space.
Coming back, right? That's just something we're doing on the side.
Right.
Fun. So,
right. So, and the Parafriends and these other super chats and other things like that is just a way to help support the effort of what we're doing here. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And those things are going to start coming at you pretty quickly here. Let's see here. Big jump. Andy Rose with the super chat. Jason, have you investigated the inn in Old Deerfield, Massachusetts? It was on Unsolved Mysteries back in the day.
Oh, geez. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I've checked out a lot of inns in Massachusetts, but also just on the show alone, I've done over 300 episodes. So possibilities there. I mean, I'd check it out, but
Wait a minute,
look,
Jay. You're telling me you don't remember every single episode place you've
you know,
investigated in the last 20 years?
I do not. It's
The funny thing is, let me just say this. The funny thing is if someone had asked me if you did remember everything, I would say, yeah, he's got a mind like a steel trap. He remembers everything.
good memory, but it's just has to be something that stuck out that
Yeah.
made me remember it. So
Jackie Lynn Jones, thank you for the super chat. No question there, just a bunch of hearts. Thank you very much for supporting the show. Hey, Chris Cummings, good friend of ours. Chris is Mandy Cummings' husband. Mandy, of course, from Ghost Sisters. Good to see you guys in the chat room. Let's see. Thoughts on solar storms, coronal mass ejections, CME supercharging conditions for paranormal activity. We try to schedule an experiment watching the space weather forecast. Okay, so anybody who hasn't been paying attention to the news may not have heard that the sun has been having these massive solar flare eruptions, sending these bursts of electromagnetic activity, radiation at the Earth. Now, there was a whole cell phone outage thing that was blamed on it. It turned out that's not what happened. But regardless, these things are happening all the time, and there's been a significant amount of activity. So I guess, Jay, the question is, does that do anything, do you think, to fuel paranormal activity, that energy?
If you believe that electromagnetic fields could help things to manifest or whatever, then I would say yes. I'm more one of those people who think EMFs, electromagnetic fields, actually create problems that are induced in the person, whether it be paranoia, nausea, fatigue, hallucinations, things like that. So, I mean, yeah, so I'm not a firm believer that it's helping to fuel activity, but I'm a firm believer that it makes people believe they're experiencing activity. So, all right, we got the paranormal theory one. Is it the one you're looking at?
No, I see a paranormal theory comment. I'm sure I'm looking at a question though. Do you have one
Paranormal
there?
theory super chat. Thank you very much. Hey Jason, how do you go about pitching my YouTube paranormal team to a TV producer? See, I never had to pitch Ghost Hunters. They honestly, the production companies came to us. But if it came down to if I wanted to pitch something, usually you need to have an attorney and entertainment agent who can connect you to different networks. So, I mean, you'd have to look up different entertainment agents who are like the middleman, because you don't ever want to pitch a show on your own and then them to go and just do the show without you. So, and that has happened to people. So
It has happened.
Yeah,
it absolutely has happened.
Yeah, so you need a entertainment attorney and an agent. So,
Chantel, welcome to Parafriends. Good to have you as part of the group. Okay, that's one you just read. Jackie Lynn Jones, welcome to Parafriends. Teresa Hall, welcome to Parafriends. Good to see everybody becoming part of the family here. Bobby Reese with the near $20 super chat. Bobby says, hey, Jason, would you ever return to Raleigh, North Carolina to investigate the Mordecai house?
I would in a heartbeat. And first off, I love Raleigh, North Carolina. I love North Carolina in general. I mean, it's got some phenomenal locations. Yeah, I'd head out there in a heartbeat to check out that place and many more. So,
next super chat. Tall Paul Hutchins Jr., $5. Thank you. Any future plans on coming back to East Tennessee, Southwest Virginia? Huge fan since day one.
Actually, yeah. I mean, there's quite a few. You and I have actually talked about heading out to Tennessee and stuff. Tennessee, I love the state. It was also the last place I ever investigated with Meatloaf. It was out in Jonesboro. Yeah, I love Tennessee. I mean, it's a phenomenal place. I'd get out there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it's a great state. Great state. Terry Swift, thank you for joining Super Friends there. I feel like Super Friends is like, what wasn't that the name of like Superman and Batman and wasn't that the cartoon? Was it Super Friends? Well, I should have said Para Friends, but I said Super Friends.
Yeah, it's like so. Geez, let's see here. All right. Would you ever do paranormal classes? I would sign up. maybe. I mean, we can see about something like that in the future. Because I would love to do something similar to that, but do it in a positive manner because I don't want it to be a money grab. And I think that's what I see too much out there. I don't, there's too much out there. Everybody looking to try to drain every dime out of people, and I hate that. It drives me crazy. So
Mandy from Ghost Sisters, you see her as Ghost Sisters in the chat, says, JV, what do you think Jason would think of a place like the Ura Shrine? Now, Mandy, I have to say, Jason was talking about Tennessee. He and I have actually talked a little bit about that particular location. You are our conduit to that place if we can ever get out there. And I hope I can bring Jason there because I was blown away when I was there, and I think he would be equally blown away.
love it. Actually, I got to meet these Ghost Sisters. I mean, I know Sherry's met them, hung out with them. You have as well.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. There's an old, this is from Brenda Bloom. There's an old hotel near me built in 1927, said to be haunted. It's called the Hacienda Hotel. We should look it up. Okay. Thanks for the suggestion.
Check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Alan. I was saying super friends. I meant to say para friends. I don't know why I was doing that.
Ghost Hunters cartoon. Actually, there was talk about that at one point. Kelly wanted,
the cartoon?
Yeah, there was talks about a Ghost Hunters cartoon. I mean, it was during the craziness of Ghost Hunters, so I didn't really ever have time to move forward on that.
So tell me about this a little bit, though. Would it have been kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing, or would it have been more serious?
They wanted to do a Ghost Hunters cartoon. It's just like how they had the Ghostbusters cartoon.
But would it have been like Scooby-Doo, like, kind of that vein where it's kind of funny,
similar, because most of the time it has nothing to do with the paranormal. And actually, I had said that to him. I'm like, it's just like Scooby-Doo, where a lot of times you find it's really Old Man Jenkins in a costume. So, but
okay, so Kat's Videos wants to know, do you think I should keep trying to contact my brother that passed in April 2023 and do EVPs and whatever? I have his and my mother's urns right here.
Oh, well, I mean, I think, it would always be nice to try to make contact with a loved one that's passed on. Just talk as if you were trying to talk directly to him, but also look for some sort of a response that would give you an indication that it was actually him responding. So,
yeah, and I would say that if it comforts you to reach out like that and try to get a response, then you should definitely do that. That's a very, very personal thing. For me, like both of my parents passed not long ago. I don't reach out to them. I know they're here. I know they're with me. I feel them. I don't reach out to them because I don't know. It's just a weird feeling for me to do that. But other people definitely do. And it's a very, very personal decision, and you should make it based on your comfort.
They really were.
Thank you. Thank you.
I loved them. They're great.
Yeah. Well, it's okay because I'm becoming my parents, Jay. So you'll recognize.
Your dad was he was a hard ass. He was
a hard.
He was. But Mark Craven, thank you very much for the super chat. Just saying hi. Well, hello back, and thank you. I appreciate that you've enjoyed our work.
And the same thing with Sarah Pittman, the $10 super chat. That's Sarah's first super chat on a live stream. Thank you for doing it here. And thank you for being in the audience and participating in the chat room. Appreciate it. Oh, let's see here. Are we going to have chats like this more often?
We are. We're trying to schedule, and I had actually put a post out on YouTube about a week and a half ago, just trying to find out what the best days. And most people were saying Friday through Sunday. So we got to lock that in and figure it out. But yeah, I would like to make this where we're going to start posting videos on here of investigations and equipment and things like that. We'd also like to open it up to have just public chats. I think it'd be great. So,
R&R says, why did you not air cases that a negative presence would have been? I recall you touched on it during the last live.
Well, we had a case that I chose not to air because it was personal stuff for the family. And I don't, I'm not willing to put a show out there that's going to jeopardize a family's well-being, just in search for ratings. It's just not, that's not important for me. It's because we're there to help the people. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, I need to see, is it, beneficial for the family if I put this episode out there? I mean, I think that's what it comes down to.
So Tina JT says, my parents wanted their ashes spread on my land. I hunt this land. Would harvesting an animal and bloodshed where their ashes are open up something I would need to be leery of?
I don't believe so at all. No.
Tina, I would say this. I don't think there's a square foot of land on this earth that there hasn't probably been either human tragedy on or some type of death on. I mean, the number of billions of people that have walked the earth that have no longer on the earth, they've touched everything. So I doubt that, even if it was your parents' ashes, if that's their wishes, that would be new to the land. So I don't think you need to worry about that.
Do Paranormal out of Australia. Karen, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to see you in here with us. So, and again, give this a thumbs up if you can, guys. Greatly appreciate it.
I wouldn't say. Okay, so Ryan was also addressing Tina's question. Good. Jason, would you mind if I reacted to your investigations you put on YouTube on my channel? But if
no,
so,
I'm not those guys who are going to, start throwing copyright infringements out and stuff, or request things to be taken down. No, I mean, if you see my investigation, it is what it is. If you have a different feeling about it, I'm not gonna get all, up in arms about it and start throwing fits. And I see too much of that. I see, like, the guy Beardo. I mean, he was respectful and everything else. I made a response video. I actually asked him his permission to use his video, which I could have anyways, but he was respectful, so I was respectful back. And yeah, but I mean, he makes a video about other people, and then they start threatening, to kill him and all this, which is ridiculous. People need to just grow a thicker skin. I know there's people out there that don't like me. I don't give a damn. Okay. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and my life's going to go on. So it's either like me or don't, but if you don't, all right, then move on. If you do, then stay. I mean, that's pretty much how I've always looked at it.
Yeah. And if anybody is talking about the paranormal and they say they have the answers and they know what's right and wrong, they're lying, because nobody knows for sure. Yeah. At best, we can make educated guesses. We try to investigate to support claims and ideas, but nobody knows for sure. That's the mystery of this, and that's what makes it fun. So anything that Jason says, or I know that anything that I say and I post, if someone has constructive criticism or has an alternate idea, bring it on. This is a discussion. It's got to be.
Tall Paul Hutchins Sr., you asked if I've ever met Zach Baggins. No, I've never met him. I've talked to him twice on the phone, and but that's been it. So I do not know Zach personally. I've never met him, and so I've met Nick. I've met many others. I've hung out with tons of people, but no, never met Zach. All right, what do we got, Jim?
Yeah, I'm scrolling through them here.
On the Hinsdale house. I've never been there. I've met the owner. Seems like a really nice guy. I think the Project Fear guys just went there recently, but I've never been there, so I can't comment on it.
Andrew says it would these live streams would be nice on a Tuesday or a Thursday because it breaks up the week. Well, did you vote? Did you vote in the poll, Sandy? Did you put that in there? Anyway, but we appreciate the input for sure. Yeah.
Hello to everybody out there. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. Still sitting around 500 people. So great. Thank you.
Yeah. And let folks know that these are happening. And, there is no regular schedule right now just because we're trying to, feel it out and see what works best. But, at some point we might have a regular night. We're doing it once a week or something like that. But we'll also be doing the investigations. Just let people know that this is happening. Bring them over to the channel.
And Melissa, you asked if I'll be doing any New England appearances this year. Possibly. Actually, this weekend I'm going to be heading out to Evansville, Indiana for Evansville HorrorCon. So looking forward to that and getting out there and hanging out with people. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ryan wants to know, what was the most intense experience you've had that made you question serious things? Do you have one that you can point to, Jay?
Say it again.
What's the most intense experience you've had that has made you question serious things?
I mean, geez, we do a lot of cases that aren't televised. They fall under confidentiality agreements, and where we get sent in to write up preliminary reports for religious organizations and things like that. Now, 99.9% of those cases have nothing to do with the paranormal, but we have seen things that have really made us just, you question everything. You question how these things are possible. How's furniture able to, move around the house, or how's a room able to redecorate itself on its own? I mean, so there's a lot of weird things out there that really make you question everything.
Brett, again with the super chat. Thank you, Brett. You've been a real trooper during this live stream, so thank you for that. Are there any paranormal books that you guys would recommend?
I wrote 6.
So, I was just gonna say, I can think of a few.
I think 3 or 4 New York Times bestsellers. So yeah, I mean, you can look into books. I wrote a bunch of case studies, and so you can check those out. Steve actually just put out a book, so check that out. Yeah, I think you just got to find somebody that you respect in the field that has some written work, and go from there.
It really depends, Brett, on what you're looking for. I mean, are you looking for paranormal books that help instruct you on how to be an investigator? That's a whole, genre to itself. And then there's a lot of books of people sharing paranormal experiences. That's a genre. And then there's books about, legends and lore, in New York State or whatever it happens to be. And they talk about the 10 most haunted places in New York. And those are more of research books. So it really depends on what you're looking for. But there's a lot. In fact, I have a whole massive bookshelf over in the other room here, which is filled with these books because I've interviewed a lot of their authors. And Jay and I interviewed a bunch of them on Beyond Reality Radio when we were doing that. So
Tina,
there's a lot out there.
Thank you, Tina, so much for the super chat. Again, this is something we're learning. It's, geez, I appreciate that.
Yes, Tina, thank you so very, very much. What else? We got time for a couple more here, Jay. What do you see anything that stands out? Will you be bringing any of the books for sale at RaptorCon?
I won't be bringing any of the books. No, I'll be bringing pictures, probably some T-shirts, stuff like that. So. Books are
Judy
tough.
Wilson.
Books are tough to bring.
They're heavy. They're heavy. Judy Wilson wants to know if you ever come across a demon. And before you answer it, this is a common question. Anybody who does work in the paranormal, when they're taking questions, they get this question, and it's a very important one to hear the answer to. What about you, Jay?
Well, I've come across tons of videos where people believe that they use the word demon to get people to tune in. I've come across some things that I believe to be negative. Now, I don't look at demons as like heaven and hell, God, the devil. I think there's human and inhuman type spirits, and inhuman is just something that's never walked the earth in human form. So I believe that there are negative things out there. So yes, I believe that I have come across negative type entities. Yeah, but not a actual so-called demon.
Wesley Ramey says, do people that don't spend money on a super chat get a shout out? Just asking. The answer is yes. Yeah. It's just the chat room's moving rather quickly, Wesley, so we don't always see those as readily as we do the super chats.
The thing we learned last week, the first time we did a YouTube live, we didn't even know about the super chat thing. It was just, but what happens is when people do a super chat, it on our screen, it loads up in front of us and lights up in different colors. And that was something last week when we did it, we're like, what the hell is that? So, I mean, it's new to us. So that's the thing with super chat but I mean, if we see your question, we'll respond it. But I mean, if super chats they come up and they take up the screen on us. So that's the thing.
Yes. Thanks for doing this, Maxine. Thank you for being part of the audience in the chat room. That's what's important to us.
Xander Ellen, Amazon sells my book. Yes, they do. So you can check it out there.
Is there a Paracon coming to Iowa? Seasonal Home Splendor is asking that question. I don't know if you know of one, Jay. My answer to that is I know a bunch of paranormal investigators in Iowa, and they're always talking about going to events. So it must be happening.
People live in Iowa?
Well, there's a couple. I don't think they live. I think they live in border states, and they just travel.
One of my sons, his girlfriend is from Iowa. So, yeah, I don't know of any coming in Iowa, but I'd go,
I guess the answer is I'm sure there are. You just got to probably just do a search. You'll probably
yeah,
find some. I just don't know when. They're pretty common. I think almost all locations have something within driving distance, so you should be able to find one.
yeah.
Thanks
So,
for intervision. Yes, you're
Jason, what's the most
welcome.
vivid apparition you have witnessed firsthand from Brian? Um, I mean, I've seen what appears to be somebody in front of me just walking. Yeah, so I've seen what appears to be a normal person, and that has just disappeared. So yes, I
Tammy, oh, I'm
freestyle
sorry.
lead mods to help slow down the chat. Yes, I know, but I had to
Yeah.
turn off the slow chat because it was creating a problem for people. So
Yeah. And even with a moderator, the thing that a moderator could do for us is the moderator could find the questions and pop them up for us, so we don't have to scan through all. Because a lot of times in the chat, and believe me, this is something that we like, is that people will be talking between themselves, and that so we have to go through those to be able to find the questions and stuff. So
Cecilia McDaniel says, "How do you pay for super chat? I pay for paraffin." Jim, I don't. Do you have the answer to that? Because I have no idea when it comes to it.
I know that if you have a YouTube account and you've linked your Google account to it, that it's automatic. But beyond that, I really don't. I'm not super sure how it works on the back end. I don't think it's complicated, but I just wouldn't be able to guide you through it without actually doing it myself at the same time.
All right, so Brian J227, are you still moving, Jason? Are you still moving to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina? My plan is either to move to like Murrells Inlet, South Carolina, or St. Augustine, Florida. I'm more leaning towards St. Augustine, Florida, though. Now they got that cool man contest every year. Did you see that recently, Jim?
Oh,
It's
what is this?
the dumbest thing in the world, but I mean, they have it like they do the dumbest men competition I've ever seen. Now I
The
gotta.
dumbest
Oh, it's
man.
the weirdest crap, man. You gotta look it
That's
up. I think this
That
was the
sounds fun. Yeah, that sounds fun. Let's see. Hey, no trashing Iowa.
no, not
Okay, Iowa
Iowa.
Joe. Yeah, when Iowa is in your name, your screen name, you're serious about Iowa, as Iowa Joe, who's been a friend of ours since Beyond Reality Radio days. Good to see you in the chat.
So, Hyung Park just asked you, I still keep in touch with past TAPS members. Yes, there's many TAPS members I still keep in touch with, and also many that I've brought back onto Ghost Hunters from the past as well. So, Merle's Inlet's better, Jason, from Misty. Okay.
Okay. Uh, Robert Eldred says, "Have you had any interesting investigations, findings in Vermont, and any recommendations for investigations in Vermont or New England in general?" Before Jay answers this, and this, I know he's going to have an answer for you. New England is probably the epicenter of paranormal activity in the country. So
Yeah.
that's where I'll start. You take it from there.
Well, we've had some crazy cases in Pillar, Vermont, and different areas. I mean, one of the craziest cases I worked on was with John Zaffis, where we got sucked into a whole cult issue, and they tried to run us off the road, and that was in Vermont. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff in Vermont. So in New England,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot. I mean, obviously, the settlers from Europe started on the East Coast and really focused in New England. So much of the oldest history of the United States is there. If you're not talking about Native American history, it's there. The older buildings, it's all there. So you're probably rolling the dice in your favor looking in New England.
So Darren, super chat, $20. Thank you, Darren. He says, I'm Brett's twin brother. I was just letting him spend all the money so far. Love your guys' content. And being from Nebraska, JV, keep trashing Iowa. Wow.
Wow, we got a Nebraska Iowa competition going on here. Interesting. Is kind of I'm going to get myself into trouble saying this, Jay. But aren't
Get
they
yourself
kind
in
of the
trouble.
same? Aren't they both? Aren't Iowa and Nebraska both very flat and a lot of agriculture? Isn't? Or am I all wrong about that?
Yeah, no, I think you're.
Are you saying I'm all wrong? Or you
No,
just say nod your
I
head and yes,
think
so you
you're
don't get in
100%.
trouble?
I no, I know one of them. I think it was I don't know. One of them, what cattle outnumbered the amount of people in the state.
Oh,
I don't
which
know
one
which.
is that? Which one is that?
I don't know. I thought it was one of them. So Iowa,
Huh.
I think it's a lot of cornfields, right?
Squirrely's World. Thank you for the $2 super chat. What do you know in current affairs? I'm not sure what they're asking there, Jay. Truth, Cody, your daughter. I know that Cody and Satori have been going through
Yep.
some stuff. I don't know what you want to say about
You know
that,
what?
but
So Satori and Cody did a video with Sam and Colby, and it went out there, and a bunch of people questioned if what they were doing was real or whatever. I get you got to watch. You got to watch their video, Sam and Colby's video, other videos, and draw your own conclusion. You know, Satori being my daughter, first off, I don't ever think either of them would fake anything. So bottom line, and they've been able to get information that we've found hard to find. So I know some people are like, well, you can find it on this, you can find it on that. Okay, but we don't go in and research things and dive that deep into stuff. I mean, how would they know that we were going to meet up with a lady the next day that wasn't planned and have information on her deceased husband who went missing? So, I mean, the list goes on and on. So, I mean, people are going to say things, to each their own. I have to step aside because I'm Satori's father. So no matter what, I'm biased. But the fact of the matter is, I don't believe that they would ever fake anything. So you guys can draw your own conclusions. But again, like I said, I have to step aside because no matter what, I'm going to come in bias. And, I don't ever want to do that. So
Mary Grace Kirby, who's a great friend of all the programs that we've done, asks if we will be filming our investigations together. And the answer is
hell yeah.
yes, of course.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And we're not going to add crap to it. We're not going to fake stuff for views. We're going to show you what a real investigation looks like, and you guys can go from there with it. Yeah. So bottom line, it's, we're having fun with YouTube. I don't need YouTube to survive. Either does Jim. So we're here having fun with YouTube, and we want to put stuff out there and just, show us investigating and doing stuff like that. I'm not pushing for, believe me, I would love to have millions of followers on here. And I created an account 20 years ago on here that I never used. So I know, crazy, but so if I had used it, we probably would have millions of followers. But and I would love to have millions of followers. But the fact of the matter is, I don't need YouTube to survive. Bottom line, I don't. So we're here having fun, and we're here because we want to put content out there for all of you to see and go from there. So we're going to be filming stuff. We're going to be putting it out there. We're not adding crap to it. We're not faking crap. And it's just not who we are. So.
And we're excited to be doing it. We've got some great locations that we've been able to secure, and we're really, really excited about it. We're oh man, I'm so bad. I see a question. Then I lose it.
Jim sucked.
Oh, it was the voices under the. Okay, yeah. Nancy says, "Did you ever debunk the voices in the caves under the Shining Hotel, which would be the Stanley Hotel?"
Oh, the hotel was empty when we were investigating it. So just catching that little girl and her voice, the laugh. I mean, it was creepy as hell.
Yeah, and I sense, obviously, when you went there for the show, we have been there dozens of times. One of our favorite places to go for a lot of reasons, which we don't necessarily have to get into right now. I think I still have Sharpie on my. Never mind.
All right. Well, at some point, I'm gonna have to show a picture book here because we.
Boy!
All right, so we used to have some crazy parties at the Stanley Hotel, and I'd always be staying in the villa behind the place, and Jim would come and stay with me, and other friends, Joe, Diana, and everything else. I mean, and I'd go in my room, I'd lock the door, and I'd go to sleep because I didn't want to know the crap that was going out there. I mean, one year, Grant's wife's in my hot tub. It's outside. One year we had a moose try to walk in. Remember that? So anyways, I come walking out one morning, and the general manager from the Stanley Hotel is passed out on my floor, literally passed out on my floor. And Jim's shirt's up, and somebody has painted pigs on his nipples.
Okay, let me be a little more descriptive.
No, I locked.
It was a Sharpie.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It wasn't painted. It was just. It was just like they put eyes and a pigtail. I don't know.
The thing most people don't realize, when you're at the Stanley Hotel, you're like 8,000 to 10,000 feet above sea level. So for every one drink is equivalent to like 3 drinks up there. So, and the general manager for the Stanley Hotel showed up to my hotel with like 2 bottles of red rum rum. I mean, and they partied, and it was like, oh my God, you guys, that's not me. I can't do that. But yes, let's just say I was very happy I had a door lock on my room.
Yeah.
I was very, very happy.
It's such a great place, such a beautiful place too. Not just a
Oh,
fun place, but a beautiful place. All right, so we said we'd go an hour. We've gone about an hour and a half, which makes up for the echo thing in the beginning. But we do have one more super chat here from Tall Paul Hutchins Jr. Whatever happened to the guy that always got into trouble in the first couple of seasons of Ghost Hunters? Brian might be his name. I can't remember.
I think Brian's living out in New York State somewhere now. We wish him the best. I haven't talked to him in years. Yeah, he, he was on Ghost Hunters. We put him on Ghost Hunters International, and things didn't work out. But again, it's one of those things where people come and go, and the best you can do is wish him the best and go from there. So, but yeah. All right. I love St. Augustine Lighthouse. Me too, Christine. Thank you very much. Guys, I want to say thank you. It's been a great night. We will try to start setting days, a certain day of the week where we do this. And we're going to start getting more and more content out there. So if you can, share the page. We'd love to get the subscribers up and go from there. But much love from me to you and JV to you all. And we'll see you next week. All right. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.